Hey everybody, it's Patrick Lovell and Roseanne Rabiola Miele. We're recording on, let's see, I guess it's Tuesday, July 15th
It is, I think.
in the
Yeah.
afternoon. And look, a lot's happening. So talk to me about where your mind is.
Well, everything is so ridiculous that I can almost not stand it. All right. I see this, I see this thing pop up where Trump is sitting in a cabinet meeting and he's talking about moldings and should we paint it? And you can't paint it. They've never made a paint to do gold correctly. And he's going, maybe we should take a vote. And then you hear a little snickering, and then you hear a kind of a woman's voice, and he goes, do you like that, or should it be the same? Motherfucker, I got people out in the street I who don't have a house, who have no bathrooms, who have no food. There's people all over the world being bombed out of their countries, carrying their kids. There are people suffering all over the world. You've been screaming at them since 2020. I've been screaming at them since 2020. And this fat fuck is worrying about paint.
I love the outrage, man, especially, and I hope our friends out there that are watching this understand that you have been in the streets for years, in a variety of ways, protesting back in the late 60s in
It's,
Chicago
but you
Democratic.
know what the craziest part is? That there are going to be millions of people who are going to watch that and say, "Oh, how terrible. Oh, it's insane." But they won't take 3 minutes to look at the Clean New Deal, the Clean New Deal. What is the Clean New Deal? What is the Clean New Deal? The
It's
Clean New
the
Deal
answer.
is solutions,
It's the answer.
solutions,
Yeah. So let's get
right?
into it. Let me try to tee it up a little bit because I want you to
Go
roll.
ahead.
But I do want to pick up on your outrage because, you know, the brilliance of the flood the zone strategy, knowing the psychology of Americans that can only live within the bandwidth of their four corners of their existence, right? They get up, they go to work, they try to do what they do, they get on the treadmill of life. They either make it or they fail, or they're always hanging on by their fingertips and they're wondering, why can't I get ahead? All of these things. But at the same time, they can't see the forest for the trees that the system is pissing on their head, telling them it's rain because the law isn't the law, and the Trump administration is just putting the death knell into the democracy by waging war against the law based on corruption of the institutions themselves. And you'll see after this, I just recorded for about 45 minutes on a truth bomb riff, where I was beside myself because I was putting together the nature of the falsification. Well, Trump doing his lie, deny, switch the blame, and implicate routine because he's
Yeah.
now saying that all things Epstein are going to be a composite result of Obama's forgeries and falsifications to
Bullshit.
frame him. And
What
that
kind of
is
bullshit?
what he's been doing for decades and decades, first and foremost. But then I unfortunately sat through right before I recorded, not too long before you and I are recording this now, where Mark Elias, of course, this former general counsel of the Hillary Rodham Clinton presidential campaign, who I've known for now years, has been basically infused with Eric Holder, the former attorney general of the Obama Justice Department. And I really like Mark Elias. I like what he's doing in the navigating and trying to battle the Republicans, gerrymandering, and all of the state concoctions that are basically just stealing free and fair elections, right? And that's good work. But at the same time, he was interviewing Eric Holder, where they were discussing how Eric Holder didn't recognize Pam Bondi's Department of Justice because it's so corrupt. And I thought to myself, you
What?
have got to be kidding me. and talking about seeing the forest for the trees. And I had a woman earlier today on Blue Sky trying to lecture me about RICO because I had commented that there was a meme being postulated of AOC proclaiming that everything that the Trump administration is doing is a con. And I've since and now have formulated that the entire government under Trump is a naked RICO. It's an absolute racketeering, influence, corrupt organization from the Supreme Court through Congress to the DOJ. It's a racketeering scheme, but now it's just naked and in the open. It has been that way since Eric Holder let Wall Street get away with the gang rape of 30 million plus Americans that led to tens of trillions of dollars being backdoored to the system of this billionaire apparatus that has us by, like George Carlin said, by the balls. And the fact of the matter is, most Americans have a sense of it, but they can't see it. And so, my point to close this one out to set you up for moving forward is this woman. I looked through her profile and we're on the same page, but she's all in on AOC. And she was offended that I would be critical of AOC not understanding what RICO is. And so she tried to battle me on the definition of RICO. And I finally just had whether or not it was a crime because, AOC famously quipped last summer that RICO isn't a crime. She was doing that. The context was defending Biden against the Republicans, challenging them to basically say what the elements of the crime were. And in so much, she said RICO is in itself not a crime. RICO is the mother of all crimes. It is the organization bucket of crimes, the umbrella. Sure, you have to have two predicate acts of money laundering, of engineering, of racketeering, of sex trafficking, a whole variety of different elements. But if you infuse those elements and you turn the consigliaries and the lieutenants all the way up to the dons, that's a racketeering enterprise, which is crime. And I asked this woman, I said, okay, riddle me this, Batwoman. Can you be convicted of a RICO of RICO statutes? Can you be convicted under RICO? Well, that makes it a crime. Of course you can be convicted of RICO. That's what we just saw P. Diddy get out of because the 7 female prosecutors decided to not prove the RICO while trying to prove domestic violence while at the same time saying it was RICO. I mean, RICO is organized crime. That's it. And you just have to prove it. And if anybody doesn't look at the Trump administration and realize our entire country, from the Supreme Court to Congress to, our media, is all literally corrupt and it's naked. And so the Clean New Deal is the opportunity for everybody to see beyond and into the forest for the trees so that you can see the emperor's new clothes on really bad acid that the billionaire class is pissing on your head, telling you it's rain. Because when you live in truth, you'll live in light. And so tell us what the Clean New Deal is moving forward, my friend.
Okay, and I just want to say one thing. The Obama administration didn't work with just one person. The Bush administrations did not act with just one person. The Trump administration brings in all the people that tell him what to do. So nobody acts by themselves.
So it's a conspiracy.
It's plain and simple.
That's right.
All we're saying is that, see, Trump is too stupid to try to think of anything by himself. But anyway, look.
Well, let me just say this real quick before you go into it. But the mainstream media right now is showing transparently that they've never been interested in solutions. They've never been answered. They're talking about Jeffrey Epstein ad nauseum right now as if this was a high school popularity contest. Nobody's asking questions about where Jeffrey was getting his funding, who was involved, to what ends, and why. And then he ended up in prison. And nobody really in the mainstream media ever bothered talking about that. I mean, for me, it's like, oh, okay, so if mainstream media is not really questioning what happened to Jeffrey Epstein while he was in captivity and they just accepted it, it's kind of like, oh, I wonder if there was anybody on the Democratic side they were protecting. Well, yeah, but that's just like this much of what we're revealing here. I mean, honestly, Epstein is a gateway drug to all of you
That's right.
fools that are insatiated because of your skeletons in your closet, I hate to say, projecting this whole thing about pedophilia. I'm convinced millions of people have been molested in this country. They had
Of
to.
course they have. Of course they have. So what we have done, because I've been outraged most of my life, okay? I'm I'm 76 years old. I guess I start getting outraged probably about 65 years ago. So when because I saw corruption, because I saw the stuff going on in my neighborhood, and I saw the politicians, the political workers, the precinct captains, the cops,
The judges,
the judges, the priests. They were able to do whatever they wanted. Okay? So you do all this work. You put together with Eric and all the folks led by William K. Black that people should be screaming his name out
yeah,
and Mark Dan's name and Paul Pelletier and June Carbone and Tom Murphy and Kathleen Angle. And I want people to go and look up those damn names for Christ's sake and quit with the goddamn memes. So, anyway,
right on.
put together the Clean New Deal. Why? Precept cops shouldn't be able to do whatever they want, shoot
Four
you,
questions, right?
right? They can't just go kill you. What sticks in my mind is when the Chicago cops or whoever the hell they were go and kill Freddie Hampton. Okay? Anybody get prosecuted or go to jail? No. Okay, what is that? That's qualified immunity. If you're a cop, you can fucking get away with anything. You can beat your wife because the other cops aren't going to snitch on you. Okay? That's all bullshit. So, what's qualified immunity? What's presidential immunity? Do we have to explain too much? This idiot face moron is talking about goddamn Peyton in the cabinet room. Screw you, sucker. Okay, judicial immunity. What the fuck? The goddamn the SCOTUS. Give me a goddamn break. They got oh jeez Louise. Look, I remember I remember them questioning Clarence Thomas. Why didn't they listen to Anita? Why didn't they? I saw those things. That stuff sticks in my damn head. Okay. All right. I know but I'm so pissed today.
Good for
Okay.
you.
Uh, really. Qualified immunity, presidential immunity, judicial immunity, and what is the Electoral College? Put that stuff together. Then you go right to precept one. Anybody know what the Glass-Steagall Act is? 1932, the Glass-Steagall Act was instituted. In 1933, see, it was supposed to separate investment banking from commercial banking. In 1933, though, there was the Banking Act that set in place four other provisions, okay? Because we had a depression. You got these suckers putting stuff in their wife's name. I'm talking about the 1920s, okay? People buying stocks on margin. You don't have to put up any collateral. Oh, they're doing whatever they want because they're rich. Screw them. Okay. So we get, and I actually found a note to Ferdinand Pecora in some of the material that I was looking at recently about Glass-Steagall. Who takes Glass-Steagall out? Bill Clinton, okay? Because he's got a surplus in the budget. You know what a surplus means? The surplus means the government ain't spending on you people. They're spending on something else. They can move things around whichever way they want. So they don't have to spend on you. They can spend $800 on a goddamn golden toilet seat for the frickin' military. Okay. Glass-Steagall is, I call it the money part. Okay. You can't go screwing around with other people's money. You gotta separate investment banking from commercial banking. And I want you to go out and I want you to look at it and I want you to look up Art Wilmarth. He is the man. He is the top guy who knows about banking. He'll tell you about it. Okay, that's enough for precept one. Precept two, everybody's always screaming about Citizens United, Citizens United. You know goddamn well corporations aren't people. Screw you, Mitch Romney. Screw you. Okay, look, corporations got all the power. How do they get all the power? They get all the power because they are being supported by a Federal Reserve and various mechanisms. I'm not going to go into all the details. When you bail out banks, the institution isn't what benefits the individual people. Okay. Yes, the books of the institution, all balance, blah, blah, blah. But as an accountant told me one time, hey, if I don't see it, I can't audit it. Okay. So who's doing that? It ain't the front door of the goddamn Bank of America. It's some person who's gotten his or her directions from the CEO who wants to boost his pay, give more money to stockholders. All that is tied into illegally bailing out, which allows corporations to have money and power. Okay. Everybody knows the more money you got, unless you're totally stupid and brain dead, like Trump, who, yeah, he gets a lot of money, but he takes short deals. Okay, it's like the people here in Las Vegas. They were taking a few $1,000s in bribes. They should have taken lessons from fucking Chicago, man. You don't take no bribe for a couple grand. What are you, nuts? Okay, see, Trump is nuts like that. He thinks if he's making a deal and they're giving him a plane or giving him that, what does he got to give on the other end? You stupid. Okay, I don't mean to swear so much today, but I'm really pissed off. Okay, Citizens United got to go, and everybody's in agreement with that. I have never heard a person say they don't. Oh, Citizens United is wonderful. Well, screw you, you damn uh, uh, Supreme Court. You guys are getting paid off like mad. Why would you want to stop the gravy train? Why? Why? You got it, as they say, made in the shade, done in the sun. Okay? Now, the third precept of the Clean New Deal, we know Patrick has dug in. He went to the Levy study, and you're not going to hear that on the street or from the mainstream media, nor are you going to hear Randall Wray's name. All right. So you fricking go to the damn Google, will ya? And I want you to look up the Levy study. I want you to go to our YouTube channel and I want you to look at the mother of all truth bombs, which is called Deception Owns You. Patrick and I sat there for 11 hours. I sat there. I was right there. I did go to the bathroom a little bit once in a while. I go back and forth. But you did, because we had
I
interviews.
basically filibustered for 11 hours straight.
That's right. That's right. And here I was. I was right here. Okay. So Patrick knows because, hey, he ain't talking to some mojo. Okay. He ain't talking to some namby-pamby. He ain't talking to no altruistic authoritarian like these economists are. He's talking to people who have documented proof showing up until, oh, what, say about through the Biden era, Biden administration, so we start with Obama and then we go to the crazy person. We go to I've been calling him the chump stain in chief. Okay. The chump stain in chief through his administration and through the Biden administration. The figure, my friend, all this money floating to the financial terrorists, their apparatuses, oh, somewhere around $71 trillion. I was reading an article today. It would take you like 2 or 3 lifetimes if you counted every day, if you were counting like millions and stuff like that and not stopping, if you were counting like the money that people have, millionaires, we're not even talking about billionaires. Can you imagine how much trillions of dollars are? A trillion is 1,000 billion. 1,000 billion. Okay. And look, it's disgusting and despicable that he got a used plane from Qatar or Qatar or however you want to say it. Okay. But it's a used plane. It wasn't even brand new. What does he got to go frickin' shell out? Okay. We know tons of ways, like how do you use $71 trillion? Well, instead of giving it to people who couldn't spend all the money that they got in their lifetime, maybe we should redo our grid. Maybe we should get off of fossil fuels. Maybe we should learn how to provide affordable housing and health care and jobs and education. No, these jackasses are, let's dismantle the Department of Education. That's because they ain't even smart enough to know what goes into the Department of Education and how you gotta run it. You know what? It's like taking a kindergartner and making him the principal of a high school. Okay, that's what it's like. What do kindergartners know? Oh, I know. Let's have playtime. Let's have recess. Where's the cupcakes? Okay, that's what it's like in his goddamn cabinet meetings today. Oh, I was so pissed off when I saw that. Okay, but listen, I'm getting too crazy. I'm gonna leave it to you. I left off at precept number 3, where we can show you how to spend $71 trillion better than giving it to, like, as I call them, the big boys who couldn't get it up if they took a bottle of Viagra. Okay.
You've got me rolling the whole time, and she just got me on that. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
You
You're
like that one?
fired today, my friend.
That's right.
I'm reminded of when I was a kid. I used to love to watch Saturday Night Live, and Rosanna Dana came on. You just pulled a Rosanna Dana. Oh my God, that was fantastic.
My hair used to be like that.
No, oh really? When you're in Chicago as a young Italian maven. I just want to pick up on it. Just a quick caveat on our first point of the precept, or first precept of the Clean New Deal, folks. What we're telling you is that we learned these lessons after the Great Depression, where we had to align interest and incentivize this sort of corollary. If you're going to have capitalism, you're going to have risk reward. But when you fail, and one of the brilliances of capitalism is bankruptcy, but you can't create bankruptcy for profit. And that's what our industries have done. That's how incredibly innovative but incredibly diabolical these chieftains of finance are. And so what we're telling you, when the full faith and credit of the United States, which is maybe dwindling at the moment, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in the next 6 months to a year, based on our reserve currency and being the global reserve currency and all of these other things that give us this position to do all this stuff. But what we're saying in the precept, the first precept of the Clean New Deal with the new Glass-Steagall Act, is not only do you separate commercial banking from investment banking, because you need finance. You need finance to keep this thing going. But at the same time, you don't need the middlemen working all of these different smoke and mirrors techniques to create racketeering
They
to
provide nothing.
fund themselves to choke everybody else based on setting everybody else up to fail. And then when the whole thing fails, and this I was trying to think of this in my previous truth bomb, but I was trying to think of the term moral hazard. That's a nice, polite term to say, oh, you mean we don't have capitalism? That the full faith and credit of the United States can be used to backstop criminality? But we have to add in the statutes now, even though it's in the statutes, but nobody understands what we've done to provide 71 trillion, which is a giant figure to these criminals that are now starving, and destroying millions of people, and going to kick 17 million people off of healthcare and all the rest of it. They got this money destroying everybody by being involved with racketeering. And you cannot use the full faith and credit of the United States to provide exigent lending to criminal syndicates. That would just be fucking stupid. But that's what we did. And that's what we've continued to do between three administrations, starting with Obama, going through, all throughout, quite frankly, Trump, and then again during Biden. Oh my God, all three of them involved with this. So that's the first caveat. But of course, you end the flip side of that, which is, legal corruption, which is Citizens United. And then, of course, we demonstrate, guys, what the Trump administration is doing with destroying the Department of Education, destroying science, destroying our capacity to understand what happens from climate change. They don't want you to know. Just like smoking. Thank you for smoking for, like 8 decades, right? Hey, nothing to see here with carcinogen. Just keep smoking, get nicotine, get addicted, and die. That's what we did for 80 years. That's what these guys are doing with not letting the American people, or the world for that matter, understand the science of climate change. And meanwhile, we'll see more and more horrific floods, more and more extreme heat, more and more fires, more and more everything that, of course, the industries are packing into insurance, so they understand the problem, because they pack it into the insurance you've got to pay and into your mortgage and everything else. But you're like, what? I don't get it. Why am I paying all these higher rates and I can't afford anything because I'm not making enough money because I'm getting choked? Yeah, that's the whole plan. You're a freaking slave or sheeple to this whole thing. And until you get liberated with the enlightenment of what we're invigorating you with, you can't break the bonds of slavery and be liberated like Exodus. And that's what this whole thing is, because you got to end qualified immunity. You've got to end presidential immunity. You've got to end judicial immunity. Nobody is above the law. And then we've got to get rid of the Electoral College. That's just a perversion of a minority chokehold on power, because you can't see the forest for the trees. And then the final two precepts, call it three, but we got to get 13 Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court to balance out this Roberts Court. We've got to get progressive liberal justices to be able to end this calamity of this monopolization of these idiots that etch-a-sketch United States history. They etch-a-sketch the revolution. They etch-a-sketch the war on slavery, because rich, diabolical guys behind the scenes want a white supremacist theocracy so that the billionaires can reign supreme to piss on everybody's head and tell them it's rain. Are you kidding me? This is 2025. We're going back 100 years, 1,000 years. It's stupidity at the highest levels. And to be able to do the other elements of it, when you get to Congress, you cannot be involved with insider trading and front running on stocks that the government is going to invest in. Call it prison industrial complex. Could you imagine all the people that were front running in Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of those bastards that basically had ends that we were going to provide ICE $85 billion for detention centers? I bet they were buying, into whatever giant conglomerates are building prison systems. That's what we're talking about. It infuses perverse incentives, which this entirety is what it is in terms of predatory monopoly capitalism, if you want to call it that. But capitalism can't be capitalism when you have moral hazard, because that means it's socialism. That's what we're telling you for the criminal class that are pissing on your head, telling you it rained. And the final piece of it is, I think we got to get rid of, well, maybe two, right, Roseanne? We got to get rid of term limits. I mean, we have to have term limits because this monstrosity is somebody like Mitch McConnell or, quite frankly, Chuck Schumer or whomever that stick around for decades and decades, and they do this thing. They're padding their own pockets. They're not working for the American people. You need new blood to get this going. And we need to create a new political party based on integrity that we got to clip the ties to the kleptocrats. If you're running for political office, you should not be getting any infusion of capital, especially north of $100,000 or $350,000 from billionaires, because then you're not working based on the clean new deal. You're working for the machine that is destroying everybody. And it's time to draw a line in the sand. And then I think the last piece of the puzzle that you would say, we talk about, oh yeah, which I think is working in New York with what is it called? Ranked choice voting, right?
Ranked choice voting is, see, because I spent this weekend talking to some young people, three young people, in fact, who told, they were all under 30, and they all told me they wanted to run for office. Now, that makes me happy. What doesn't make me happy is that they believe that the Democratic Party is going to allow them to win the Democratic Party in to win the primary nomination in their district. Okay? Now, let me tell you how much I'd put my money on that. All right? They are newcomers. I want them to win. The last time someone asked me to talk to the Democratic Party was when I was on the what they call the E-board for the state Democratic Party. And they asked me, I'd really like to run for Congress. And I said, okay. And so I asked, and the answer I got from the party? You got $10,000 to put up? That's initial from a candidate. Now, was it written down? Did I record that? No, of course not. Can the person who said that to me about what candidates have to pony up just to be considered in a primary? They'll say, I never said that. Oh, no, I don't recall that. Okay. I don't recall that. It's all these terrible, awful things that happen. Like I will, till the day I die, remember Michael Winston's voice in the con when he saw a license plate. He was working for Countrywide. He was working for Mr. Golden Frickin' Tan, Angelo Mazzillo, who wanted to make Countrywide the Goldman Sachs of the West Coast. And Michael Winston, an honest person, a person of integrity, a talented person who would not do a dishonest thing. He sees a license plate, and the license plate says Fundum, like F-U-N-D, them. Fundum, okay? And Michael says to the guy in the parking, what is that? Oh, that's Angelo's saying. Do you have enough money to be able to afford a mortgage? Fund them. Do you have a job? Fund them. Whether you have it or not. Okay. So Angelo didn't care because he's going to make his money getting those mortgages because he's going to sell that paper. See, I call collections and mortgages, it's all paper to me. Okay. You take that paper, you bundle it up, and you sell it to the fuckers on Wall Street. And they're going to make beaucoup bucks because they're putting it all in all these derivatives. Okay. They're going to put money on whether it goes this way or whether it goes that way. And Lloyd stinking no good bald headed Blankfein is going to sit up there in front of Congress and he's going to say, I had no, our brokers, they didn't know
He said the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and that's
what
by design.
what the position of our company is. You ass face, what the hell are you talking about? You're selling financial instruments and your brokers don't know what your company's position is. Well, then why aren't you just selling peanuts or balloons? Okay, sell whatever. If you're selling financial instruments, you have to know what are those financial instruments about. If they're garbage, they didn't care. Lloyd Blankfein didn't care. Angelo didn't care. Robert Rubin didn't care. Why do people hate people who go into government? Because, oh, all these smart businessmen. Uh, Trump is supposed to be a smart businessman. Oh, so you go bankrupt 6 times and that says you're smart? Give me a break. I'm through. I'm done. I'm going crazy today, and I need more coffee.
Well, let's wrap it up. That was funny. You were Rosanna Dana, but you really gave some important information. I think it's important for our friends to get to try to get their heads around this. I hope this is something that you can like, subscribe, and share. Look, we've got all of our information at thecleannewdeal.org. It lays it all out. You don't live in a democracy. This isn't capitalism. I know people want to blame capitalism. We got to reconfigure the terminology of what capitalism is if you want to blame this on capitalism. You want to blame it on monopoly racketeering capitalism that actually has no law, because that means socialism for the rich. That's what it means. I'm so sorry. The government is paying, or the full faith and credit of the United States. And yeah, there's a lot of people that go, oh, the Federal Reserve is independent of government because we need their expertise so it doesn't get corrupted. Bullshit. It's been corrupt for at least the last 14 years.
Oh
And the
yeah.
bottom line is that there are no good guys in the situation. It's only going to get worse, quite frankly, in terms of interest rates and other things. That if Donald Trump takes out the insider trading Jerome Powell, I mean, it's just like things are so absolutely rotten that this
Yes.
society is dying. It's dying. And the only way, and millions of people are going to die around the world. You need to wake the fuck up. You need to stop chasing the stupid fucking memes. Yeah, there is a massive cover up as it relates to Epstein. Yes, the mainstream media is using it to juxtapose how stupid MAGA is, but fun it is to watch them devour each other. But yet it doesn't understand that every major institution of power was in on Epstein, which is a small piece of what we're talking about. Intelligence and leverage and blackmail and all that shit's been going on since James Bond in the 50s, and all of the kind of stuff that goes on. You throw in perversion for the billionaire class. I mean, people, if you are sickened by this stuff, I feel, first of all, it's a projection. I feel a lot of people have done this or been a part of this, and they're like projecting themselves, and they're lost in translation. I think the country has lost its mind. I think the world, to a large degree, has lost its mind. But we have got to connect with real people, people who understand truth and justice and integrity, that are smart enough to pull us out of this. And we've got to unite, because you got to stop looking to the Democratic Party to save us. AOC and Bernie Sanders, as good natured as they are towards the working class, they have yet to understand and wrap their heads around corruption at the level that we're revealing. Same with Robert Reich. Same with anybody who's been affiliated with the Democratic Party since Clinton. And quite frankly, through Obama, and quite frankly, most importantly, through Eric Holder. They did us no favors. They're not the party of the working class. They're not the party of the law. They're the party of billionaires, just like the Republicans. There's one party, and it's owned by the billionaire class. And the billionaire class is structured through the financial hegemony of the world's reserve currency predicated on fossil fuel. This is what we're going back to infinitum, and they're doing it to destroy education, science, the law, markets, everything, and they're going to murder and destroy millions. That's not hyperbole. I'm not running around with like a chicken with my heads cut off. We've got the information that the courts were involved with destroying tens of millions of people with tens of millions of fraudulent documentations that nobody stopped. It's the easiest thing in the world when you understand what they did based on the information we have. And then at the end of it, oh yeah, by the way, the guy who's at the apex of it all at that time, a guy by the name of Alan Greenspan, who was the Federal Reserve Chairman for many decades, that stemmed from his Reagan era, coming into a scenario where he worked for Charles Keating, which was the world's largest bankruptcy that our mentor William K. Black took down in the S&L crisis. He becomes the maestro, and he knew this shit was going on the whole time. How do I know? How do I know?
Because Catherine Engel was there. Catherine Engel had the evidence that was presented to Alan Greenspan.
Via Ned Gramlich, who was the head of the FOMC and the Philadelphia Federal Reserve. Guys, the Federal Reserve is mandated by Congress, which means it's under the purview of Congress, which means it needs to resolve the laws of Congress and shall exercise, especially with the information, to stop any sort of racketeering elements that are existing because of low interest rates in the housing commodities market, which they didn't do when they had all the information. And what we're telling you, it's been an inside job for now decades. And it's getting
It's rigged.
it's getting worse and worse and worse. And we have every piece of the puzzle. And there's only one way through this, and that's the Clean New Deal. Now, in addition, and finally, I'll say we do have the New Untouchables, which is a huge part of this that you can find at thenewuntouchables.com. But that's a methodology of a legal response to flood the zone in reverse, to be able to help people that are victims of ICE, help people that are victims of tariffs, help constitutional overreach. Basically go on the offensive against tech bro oligarchic power and propaganda. We saw last week with AI, Mr. Flaming through the Z Kyle, Elon Musk, basically prognosticating through AI, literal Nazism. And so, guys, there is no more, shall we say, speculation. This is all out in the open. But what nobody understands, from the New York Times that they're telling you to MSNBC to this, that, and the other, is what we're revealing. We're people that believe in liberty and justice for all. We believe in the dignity of humanity. We want to see people thrive. We want to see people live lives to the greatest of their fulfillment within the context of equality and fairness predicated on liberty and justice for all. We're Americans. That's what I believed America was. But then, of course, there's always the other side of it, which is this robber baron / Confederacy. And that's what these guys are all about at the moment. And the only way we're going to break that, just like they did with FDR when he said, the enemies of peace are the age-old agents of tyranny that stem from war profiteers and bankers and financial artists who think that the government is appendage to their aims. They hate me and I welcome their hate. See this behind us, guys? That's the Clean New Deal. If you want to end the misery of tyranny and create a renaissance of possibility, you got to get on board, you got to share, you got to dive in, and you got to listen to what we're telling you, because this is literally, at this stage in 2025, the only way we have a chance to save our democracy, the law, and quite frankly, humanity. And that's not hyperbole. Is it hyperbole?
It is not hyperbole. And look, we're regular people. We come from different backgrounds, but we're not talking in some frickin' foreign language here. Open your eyes, watch, open your ears, listen. Okay, look, see, this will make them laugh. I even have the Clean New Deal, and I'm going to turn around. Ready? So read what's on the back. Can you see it?
No, but I know what it says. It says it's not rocket science, it's racketeering.
It's racketeering.
Yeah,
I
and that was bold. And no, seriously though, that was wonderful. Yeah, yeah, listen, guys, check us out at thecleannewdeal.org, thecon.tv, and Patrick Global Truth Bombs the Con, and you can discover Roseanne at the Clean New Deal on Blue Sky,
the
and
cleannewdeal.org.
yeah,
That's all.
and I'm the same. So thank you for listening. Happy Monday or Tuesday, whatever this is, and guys, we got a lot of work to do. Hopefully, we can get you guys on board. Please join us as soon as possible. Thank you. Onwards and upwards.
Onwards.